Across Africa and the diaspora, there's a hidden cost of success called black tax. It's not written in any law books, but it's one of the most powerful forces shaping wealth. In South Africa, studies show 7 out of 10 black professionals regularly support their families financially. In Kenya, more than 65% of young professionals send money home every month. And across the continent, this obligation can swallow 20 to 30% of someone's income. So the big question, is black tax a cultural duty or a financial burden slowing down generational wealth? Black tax is the expectation that once you earn a paycheck, it's not yours alone. Your salary becomes the family's safety net. This has deep roots. Generations denied land ownership, pensions, and education under colonial systems created a cycle where the first graduate in a family becomes the lifeline. Let's dive into the latest numbers. In 2024, remittances flowing into low and middle-income countries are expected to reach $685 billion, growing about 5.8% over 2023. World Bank blogs. In Africa specifically, remittance inflows are estimated at about $92.2 billion in 2024, which is about 5.2% of the continent's GDP. Remitscope. Remittances are not just large, they're essential. Around 75% of those funds are used for basic support, food, housing, education, and health needs. Remitscope. These numbers tell us remittances, which are often a big part of what we call black tax, are increasing. Even when global economic pressure is high, it means more people depending on these funds back home. Here's another perspective. Over just the last decade, remittance inflows to Africa have nearly doubled, from around $53 billion in 2010 to about $95 billion in 2024. African futures. And while these are macro numbers, they translate deeply into individual lives. When over 5% of a nation's GDP depends on remittances, that means many households rely heavily, often sacrificing their own financial growth to meet family needs. Meet Tandy, a 32-year-old banker in Johannesburg. She earns 35,000 Rand a month, about $1,800. Every month, 12,000 Rand goes to cover her parents' electricity, her younger brother's university tuition, and groceries for an unemployed cousin. She jokes, "I have 3 jobs, one for the bank, one for my family, and one for survival." Tandy admits that while she loves her family, she hasn't been able to buy a home of her own, something most of her white colleagues did by 30. In Nairobi, Brian is the first doctor in his family. His salary is 160,000 shillings, or about $1,200. He pays $600 in school fees for 2 sisters, another $200 for his parents' medical insurance, and still sends home money for farm supplies. What's left barely covers his rent and transport. Brian confesses he feels both proud and trapped. Proud to carry his family, but trapped because his dream of specialising abroad keeps getting pushed back. Then there's Amina, a nurse in London, earning £2,400 a month. She sends £400 home every month to Ghana. That's almost 20% of her income, but it pays her younger brother's tuition and her mother's rent. She says, "Some days I wonder if I'm living in London for myself or for them." Yet when her brother graduated as an engineer, she felt the sacrifice was worth it. And finally, Tunde, an IT consultant in the US. He sends $700 a month to Nigeria. He says, "Sometimes it's never enough. Once I send for my parents, then my cousin calls about medical bills, then an uncle wants help with rent. I've stopped saving for a house here, but without me I know half of them wouldn't survive." Is black tax killing generational wealth? Sanlam reports 42% of black professionals say black tax prevents them from saving for retirement. How do you build generational wealth if you can't invest in property, stocks, or a business? It's like climbing a mountain with weights tied to your legs. On the flip side, when one sibling sacrifices, others rise. A Kenyan proverb says, "A child is raised by many hands." The younger siblings who get educated often earn enough later to lift the entire family. So black tax delays wealth for one, but creates opportunity for many. Is it fair that success equals responsibility? Critical view. In Western families, wealth flows downwards, parents support children. In Africa, it flows upwards and sideways. Should one person's degree automatically mean they carry an entire village? Cultural defense. But African culture has always been communal. To reject black tax is sometimes seen as rejecting your family. Without this obligation, many households would collapse. Should boundaries exist? What happens when you can't say no? Studies show that many young professionals report anxiety and burnout from constant requests, yet saying no is seen as betrayal. Panelists could discuss, is it love or is it pressure disguised as love?
Did you know that the way young Africans handle black tax is changing? Big time? Instead of just sending money home whenever someone calls, there's a new wave of collective power sweeping across the continent. Let me tell you about Kenya's chamas. These are community savings groups where families and friends pool their money, not just to help out in emergencies but to invest. Imagine, instead of one-off handouts, chamas by land launch businesses invest in the stock market. It's not just about surviving anymore. It's about building wealth together. And it's not just Kenya. In South Africa, Stokvels are massive. Over 11 million people are part of these savings clubs, managing more than 50 billion rand every year. That's billions with a B. These groups aren't just saving for groceries or school fees. They're buying property, starting companies, changing their communities from the inside out. I've seen stories where a small group of cousins started a chama, and within 5 years, they owned a rental property. Or a Stokvel that helped dozens of families send their kids to college and launch new businesses. It's proof that when people come together, even small contributions can grow into something huge. So if you ever thought black tax was just a burden, think again. Across Africa, young people are flipping the script, turning collective responsibility into collective investment. It's not just about lifting each other up, it's about building a future together. If you found this inspiring, share it with someone who needs to hear it, because when we invest in each other, everyone wins.
Two, tech and transparency. Apps like WorldRemit and Flutterwave are making remittances faster, but they're also adding transparency. Some allow users to pay school fees or medical bills directly, so money isn't misused. This gives professionals peace of mind that. Third, mindset shift. There's a cultural shift too. More Africans are learning to set boundaries, supporting parents and siblings, but saying no to endless extended family demands. This is controversial, but many argue it's necessary for wealth creation. As one young South African put it, I'll pay.
Let me ask you something. If you're part of the diaspora, how many times have you sent money back home? Emergencies, birthdays, school fees, hospital bills. It's called the black tax. And while it comes from love, sometimes it feels like a never-ending cycle. But what if I told you there's a smarter way? Instead of endless handouts, more professionals are flipping the script. They're turning handouts into hands-on investing. Imagine this. Diaspora bonds, housing co-ops, startup funds. These aren't just buzzwords. They're real tools, and they're gaining momentum. The World Bank predicts remittances to sub-Saharan Africa will hit over $54 billion by 2030. That's a mind-blowing amount. But here's the kicker. If just a tiny slice of that money is channeled into structured investments, we could turn black tax into black wealth. Picture this. Your support doesn't just cover today's needs. Instead of sending money that disappears, you're investing in businesses, homes, futures. You're planting seeds that grow not just for your family, but for entire communities. It's not about saying no to helping out. It's about saying yes to something bigger: empowerment, legacy, real financial freedom. So next time you're about to hit send, pause and ask, could this dollar work harder? Could it build something that lasts? Because when we invest together, we rise together. Let's turn black tax into black wealth. The future is in our hands. Let's make it count.
So, is black tax the weight that holds us back or the glue that holds us together? Maybe it's both. For now, it remains one of the most defining and divisive features of African wealth. But as we move forward, one thing is clear. Black tax doesn't have to be just survival. With new ideas, tech, and bold boundaries, it can become a path to shared prosperity. What do you think? Should black tax continue as it is, or should it evolve into something more structured? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's debate this together.